Welcome everybody to Train Tuesday. So glad to have you on board. If you're catching us now on our YouTube channel, please, by all means, if you like the content, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. That way you are notified of future videos. This is a rebroadcast after some technical difficulties from the following night. So I hope you find this information useful. Everything that I'll be talking about is available for pre-order until Friday, June 30th. We're going to start the show with Athearn Genesis HO scale F45 EMD locomotives. Now, this is from a previous release, but this will give you an idea of just how nicely done these locomotives are. Now, by the 1960s, the electromotive division was at a big disadvantage. Their 567 engine was in use for over 20 years, and it reached its peak at 2,500 horsepower in a turbocharged 16-cylinder version. EMD released a new 645 engine in 1966. The most powerful locomotive using this series of engine was the SD45, powered by a 20-cylinder turbocharged 645E engine producing over 3,600 horsepower. EMD then offered the V20 645E engine and the STP45 in a standard hood configuration and longer frame to accommodate the steam generator needed for passenger service. The EMD STP45 was a good passenger locomotive. However, Santa Fe did not like the look of this passenger locomotive. Therefore, EMD went and designed a lightweight cowl body to cover the locomotive. Now, it's important to note that the cowl, unlike its predecessors, say the E units, didn't provide any strength or rigidity. That was all left to the frame. However, this cab did streamline for a sleeker look, better aerodynamics at speed, and allowed the crew to enter the engine compartment while en route for diagnostics and maintenance. After sponsoring the development of the FP45 passenger locomotive, the Santa Fe requested a similar freight locomotive from Electromotive. Where the FP45 was an STP45 wrapped in a full-width cowl car body, the new F45 was essentially an SD45 given the same treatment. So like I said, this is the Burlington Northern 6625, one that we offered on the last run. You may be lucky and still find one of these in the hobby shop, although they did sell out quite quickly. However, what I'm about to show you, you have until Friday, June 30th to place your pre-orders. And with that, let's get started with our first road. We're going to start with Santa Fe. Here's the first two that we're offering in the Santa Fe. Delivered in 1968, Santa Fe's fleet of 40 F45s were used mainly on the transcontinental line between Los Angeles and Chicago. In the mid-1970s, Santa Fe began to repaint the units and install a variety of rooftop equipment, such as air conditioners, antennas, and beacons. In 1982 to 1983, the F45s were rebuilt at the Railroad San Bernardino, California shops. They emerged wearing new numbers in the 59,000 series and were classified as F45U, SDF45. In 1994, 22 of these units were sold to Morrison Knudsen and received MKM lettering under their road numbers. Now here you see we've got two locomotives. One is a standard and one is a rebuilt. Starting with number 5918, this is the non-rebuilt unit. It has the earlier road number series. It also has a Leslie RS3L horn on a low clearance bracket. Sinclair antenna is mounted directly on the dustbin, and it has a prime Stratolite beacon mounted directly to the cab on a blue base. This would be an era of late 1970s, whereas Santa Fe 5956 is a rebuilt number series. It will have a Nathan K3LA horn on a tall bracket, Sinclair antenna mounted on the ground plane, prime Stratolite beacon mounted on a bracket, and this would be a mid-1980s locomotive. Two more Santa Fe's in this mix. We've got number 5973 as well as 5977. Now, both of these were rebuilt. They are going to include Leslie RS3L horns on the bracket, large and small Sinclair antennas mounted on the ground planes, removed prime Stratolite beacon, although the platform still remains of 5973, and MU holders. Likewise, 5977 will also have a Leslie RS3L horn on bracket, large and small Sinclair antennas mounted on ground planes. This one, however, no beacon, and an alternate number board font, a little bit different than the other ones in the series, as well as MU holders. These would soldier on until another important step further down the road, and we'll be talking about that in a bit. So here's an interesting short line that you probably didn't think we would do, but it's been popular in the past. We figured, you know what, it's time to bring these guys back. A little bit about the Wisconsin and Southern. So beginning operations in 1980 with a small fleet of SD9s, the Wisconsin and Southern has grown over the years to operate 837 miles of track over 2 divisions in Wisconsin. In 1992, they acquired 3 former Burlington Northern F45s and repainted them into this attractive red and gray livery. Originally purchased the powertrains from Horicon, Wisconsin to Chicago, Illinois, but they were disliked for their switching. They were then moved to Janesville, Wisconsin for another Chicago train over the Sioux Line trackage, but they were never used as Sioux Line prohibited 6-axle power at the time. Ultimately, these units didn't spend much time in southern Wisconsin as they proved too heavy for the old Milwaukee Road rails that the Wisconsin and Southern operated on. Instead of sitting idle, they were released back to the Burlington Northern and then sold to Montana Rail Link, where they would eventually be repainted after a few years. Here we're offering those 2 units, 1001 and 1003. Typical of Genesis, they're going to have some slight differences. 1001 will have a cab-mounted oscillating headlight, whereas 1003 will have standard lights. These were a hit the last time, so if you missed out, you're going to want to go ahead and pre-order those before Friday the 30th. Up next is the Great Northern. These in 1969 are what they're representing. And it was in 1969, Great Northern placed an order for 14 of the F45 locomotives. They were delivered in their then new blue and gray scheme, affectionately named Big Sky Blue by rail fans. In just a few short years, they would be absorbed into the then new Burlington Northern with a coat of Cascade Green and a new number class. Here we're offering 3 locomotives for you to choose from, or you may want to get the whole set. We have Great Northern number 428, 434, and 435. Now, these are what I call factory fresh. They're going to come as they were new from EMD in 1969, and features will include the xenon beacon effect, which will work if you spring for the Tsunami 2 decoder, high-mounted headlight, winterization hatch, 3-chime horn, firecracker antenna, and a small EMD plow. These are definitely a striking paint scheme on a really cool locomotive. You're not going to want to miss out on these. All right, we talked a little bit about these guys earlier. Now we're going to talk about Montana Rail Link. These are appropriate for 97, 2000 above. Montana Rail Link F45s number 392 and 393 were acquired from Wisconsin Southern in April of 1994, and they had started life as Burlington Northern, being part of the only order they placed for F45s. When they arrived at Montana Rail Link, they were patched and ran as MRL 1002 and 1003 before being repainted. Now, the W, or the Roaring Lion scheme, is the only paint scheme that these both units would wear. Montana Rail Link 393 being painted in March of 1997, so it could be leased to sister company I&M Rail Link. Montana Rail Link number 392 lasted a bit longer in its former paint scheme and was repainted in May of 2000. Both units are unique in their spotting features, as many of the Montana Rail Link units were due to their previous heritage and when they were painted. These units are represented as they look between 97 and 2000. And more, unfortunately, Montana Rail Link 392 was scrapped in the summer of 2014, while Montana Rail Link 393 met the same fate much earlier in 2007. Here you see them in their prime. Here's 392 and 393. A few little differences in these as far as details, and since they are Genesis, we're going to include those details. Montana Rail Link number 392 has a cab-mounted P3 horn, walkway ditch lights, Canadian-style small plow, unique road number specific to art details. You'll see that in the artwork there. Next is 393. This has a body-mounted 5-chime horn, pilot ditch lights, EMD small plow, and of course, unique art details specific for its road number. So we've got one more in the mix to show you here, and that is the Morrison Knudsen. Now this is kind of the end of the F45s. During the mid-1990s, Santa Fe sold off a batch of F45s to Morrison Knudsen with a simple painting over of the former owner markings to get them back into lease service. MK was no stranger to the locomotive rebuilding and leasing market. Santa Fe was able to lease them back on short-term lease agreements, and they could also be seen on UP and SP trains when they were needed. This is great for you guys modeling 1995 on up. And obviously, if you don't model the Santa Fe, this is a good excuse for you to get this unique locomotive in your fleet. The details for this locomotive, 5957, include former Santa Fe with the removed markings, as you can see here, nose-mounted headlight, 3-chime horn on bracket, roof AC, passenger service-style plow, Santa Fe-style antenna setup, and walkway ditch lights, which are included in a poly bag along with LEDs. Now, the prices on the HO scale Genesis F45s, this is full retail, so you're going to want to contact your dealer for your price. They are going for $219.99 without sound. They are going for $319 for the Tsunami 2 equipped decoder. Now, N scale guys, don't worry. We've got something here for you too. We are offering the F45s in N scale as well. We'll talk about some of the details, but let's talk about the roads that we're offering. A little bit different lineup, but very similar. The picture that you see here on your screen now, that was from the last release. Some of these are still available at hobby shops. So if you really like the pinstripe or the billboard bookend paint scheme, check out your dealer. They may still have one or two left. However, again, these guys tend to sell pretty quickly. So coming up next, we've got another run of Santa Fe's, a little bit different from the last run. We've got Santa Fe number 5918 and 5956. Now, Santa Fe 5918, if you remember in the HO version, that was the non-rebuilt version. We are offering that one as well as the 5956, which is classified as an F45U. That means it's been rebuilt. 5918 is great for 1970s, later 1970s. 5956, of course, would be into the 80s. N scale guys, we didn't forget, you guys love the Wisconsin and Southern as well. We're offering 1001 and 1003 to the mix. If you missed these in a previous run, now's your chance to go ahead and get those. Also, we're offering 2 road numbers for the Great Northern in the Big Sky Blue paint scheme. We're offering road numbers 428 and 424. And certainly, last but not least, we are offering 392 and 393 in the Montana Rail Link versions. So again, if you've missed these or you've been asking for these, we did get a lot of folks asking for these in our product suggestion email. Here is your chance to own these in either HO or N scale. Now remember, the N scale versions are available as DCC ready with no sound, or you can get them as well with the Tsunami 2 decoder. It's pretty cool to have a Tsunami 2 decoder in these N-scale locomotives. I can say from experience, they sound absolutely phenomenal. And so if you want, they're available as those 2 versions. Now, MSRP on these guys, we'll get to that in a minute. Let's talk about the features in N-scale that these locomotives have. They're going to have see-through cab windows, a 4,000-gallon fuel tank, snowplow or plate welded pilot based on the prototype, flush-mounted porthole window glass, Flexicoil C side frames with high brake cylinders, and body-mounted McHenry operating scale knuckle couplers. Now, all of these will have a 5-pole skew wound motor with precision machine flywheels and multi-link drivetrain. No problem going through those unpowered frogs on your layout. And they're also going to have all-wheel electrical pickup, which is going to provide a much better current flow. all-wheel drive with precision gears for smooth and quiet operation, and a heavy die-cast frame for better traction and better power. Now, if you're wondering what radius these locomotives will perform on, they will work on a minimum radius of 9 3/4. That means guys that are into the smallest modular setup, such as T-Track, will have no problem running these. Guys that are running N-Track or Fremo will also likewise enjoy these locomotives. And if you have a club layout that's N scale, or if you have a home layout, as long as you have a radius of 9 3/4 or greater, you'll have no problem operating these N scale locomotives. Without sound, DCC ready, they're going for $169.99. If you spring for the Tsunami 2 decoder equipped version, you're looking at $269.99. Again, talk to your dealer. That's full MSRP. Your dealer will have your price. Now we're going to talk some freight cars now. And we're going to start with the HO scale, and then we're going to also talk about some N scale cars. So we want to continue to offer cars to our modelers that do transition era. Transition era is not dead. There's still a lot of folks out there that like to model the transition era, and a lot of the cars that I'm showing here are perfect for 1950s and 60s modelers, and even got one in there for you 70s modelers. Coming up here, you can see Santa Fe number 78511, CB&Q 170008, and Canadian National 324480. These 40-foot 3-bay offset hoppers are available as a single car, as you can see here. However, they're also available in 2 separate 4-packs. That way you can make a unit train easily. And of course, all of the road numbers are individual. There are no duplicates. So you can get the single as well as the 2 4-packs and put together a train pretty quickly. Now, the Santa Fe that I show here is a 1950s paint scheme. Likewise, the CB&Q in the Chinese red is 1960s. Remember, CB&Q came out with the Chinese red paint scheme after 1957. So these are firmly set into the 60s. However, if you're an early BN modeler, don't be afraid to pick these up. A lot of these lasted in their CB&Q colors well into the 70s, sometimes early 80s, depending on the freight car. Canadian National fans, you're looking at a 1950s paint scheme. Obviously, those would have gone on even further. With a little bit of weathering and detailing, you can certainly bring those into a different decade. 2 more roads that we're offering an HO scale, and that is the Grand Trunk, as well as the Seaboard Coastline. Grand Trunk, lettered up and painted as it would have appeared in the 1950s, and Seaboard Coastline, more of the early 70s. This is Grand Trunk is car number 111609, and Seaboard Coastline car 160587. Again, both of these cars are available as a single as well as 2 separate 4-packs. So the features of these HO scale cars are they have a removable load. They will all have McHenry operating scale knuckle couplers, factory applied wire grab irons, stirrup steps, end braces, and brake platform. These will have precision machined metal wheels with the RP25 contours, and they will also include separately applied brake gear, including the brake wheel housing, air reservoir, brake cylinder, triple valve, and train line with supports and roping eye. Of course, these are going to be very detailed. They're going to be weighted to NMRA standards, and the minimum radius on these is 18 inches, which is great. The smallest of layouts can enjoy these. MSRP on these, if you go for the single car, they're going to be $37.99 each. If you go for the 4-pack and get a little bit of savings, you're looking at $139.99. Now, again, you're going to want to talk to your dealer for your price. We do advertise at full MSRP. And then last but not least, we've got some N scale. We're offering the same cars in the N scale as we did the HO. These, of course, are the 40-foot 3-bay offset hoppers. And as you can see here, we're offering the Santa Fe, the CB&Q, and the Canadian National. Likewise, like the HO versions, we're going to offer these as a single as well as 2 separate 4-packs with road numbers that are all different, so you don't have to worry about duplicates, and you can put together that unit train. And N scale, guys, it's so easy to do, whether you're in a modular club or your home layout. The advantage to N scale is you can make those unit trains and make some realistic long trains with these really easily. Now, like the HO, we are also offering the Grand Trunk as well as the Seaboard Coastline. Again, 1950s and late 60s, early 70s for the Seaboard Coastline. Now, the features for the N-scale cars, they're going to feature a removable coal load, weighted and painted with a die-cast underframe that'll really help with these small cars. Based on the prototype, they will include either roller bearing or Bettendorf trucks. They will have a scale profile brake wheel, machine metal wheel sets, screw-mounted trucks, body-mounted McHenry knuckle couplers, and those metal wheel sets will operate on all manufacturer brands of Code 55 as well as Code 80 rail. Now, the minimum radius on these guys is also 9 3/4. So again, doesn't matter what modular system you are a part of, these will work on that as well as your club and your home layouts. MSRP on these is $32.99 for the individual car. If you go for the one of two 4-packs, they are $109.99. And again, you have until the end of this month, which is Friday, June 30th, to place your pre-orders. So there you go. That's what I've got for you on this video. I hope you enjoyed the information. You can see our products at athearn.com. If you ever have any product suggestions, please go to our website and the Contact Us tab. Fill out the form, and the drop-down menu has a reason for you to contact us, and one of those reasons is for a product suggestion. Feel free to reach out to us. We do listen to you guys with what you would like to see next. And hopefully, from what we've been releasing recently, you've seen that we are listening. So be happy, be healthy, be safe, and do some good modeling. And above all, high green.